Andy, no! Just because Katie's being relatively nice and understanding to you, it does not mean she fancies you. Get a grip, boy. You had your chance. That was then, and this is now. Emmerdale back tonight at 7.
Taxing the rich, a new top rate of tax will apply to those earning more than £150,000 a year.
Last-minute deal, Michael Jackson settles his multi-million-pound contract dispute out of court.
And out of the drop zone, Tottenham Hotspur continue their move up the table. That's what we're talking about on the News Hour today. It's Monday, it's the 24th of November 2008.
And a very good morning to you. You're watching the News Hour. It is 6 o'clock at the start of the week.
Also this morning, a GMTV survey's revealed that 60% of you have been refused an exchange for faulty goods, and a third of you have been the victim of dodgy tradesmen.
GMTV's consumer champion Edwina Curry is on the case this morning, so we'll speak to her.
And Lost for Words, we'll look at why in some parts of the country more than half the children who arrive at primary school cannot string a sentence together. I feel like that most mornings.
Certainly feels like it this morning. Andrea, it's cold.
It is, and that's pretty much all I can tell you. We've got a few minor problems with our weather graphics this morning. What I can tell you, though, is the Met Office has issued a warning this morning for icy roads across parts of northern and eastern Scotland. So be aware of that if you are heading out on the roads for the next few hours. Across England and Wales, though, it's a rather more wet picture. Very, very cold, though, as Andrew said, no matter where you are. And, of course, many parts of the country yesterday seeing quite a bit of snow. I'll give you a full weather rundown with pictures in 20 minutes.
Yeah, we like it when there are pictures. Makes it so much easier.
Yeah. Something to point at.
Our top story today, the Chancellor Alistair Darling is expected to introduce a higher rate of income tax for those who earn more than £150,000 a year when he delivers his pre-budget report later today. It's thought to be one of the ways that he's going to pay for a planned cut in VAT from 17.5% to 15%. But it may not come into force until after the next election. Gloria De Piero is in Westminster. Gloria.
Penny, Alistair Darling is going to be upfront and detailed about how he's going to get the government's spiralling borrowing bill down after the next election. You're going to hear the usual stuff about efficiency drives in government spending. There will be that higher rate of income tax after the next election for the very wealthy, people earning more than £150,000. Something else that I'm picking up is that there could well be an increase deferred until after the next election in national insurance, and that is paid by most people in work. So Labour faces the prospect of going to the next election saying, yes, many people will have to pay back more, but you get something in the here and now for those deferred tax increases. You get the cut in VAT, and that would take about a tenner off the average Christmas present bill of £384. There will be other goodies in there too, probably a rise in the basic state pension. There'll be help for homeowners, a 3-month breathing space for people struggling to pay their mortgages, the help for small businesses too. What you're going to see, Penny, today is a huge divide emerging in British politics. Labour saying you have to borrow now to get money into people's pockets now to address the severest effects of this recession, to make life easier for people in the here and now, while the Tories say that this Christmas giveaway is a tax bombshell which is going to detonate after the next election. They're against government borrowing to fund the kind of tax cuts that you will see today. Whoever wins the argument today and up until the next election is likely to form the next government. Today is that big.
Gloria, thank you.
3 minutes past 6, Monday morning. Arouge with the rest of the top news stories.
Thanks, Andrew. Good morning. Michael Jackson's appearance at the High Court in London has been cancelled after the singer apparently reached a last-minute out-of-court settlement with the Bahraini sheikh suing him for breach of contract. He was due to defend claims that he reneged on a recording deal with £4.7 million. But a settlement was apparently reached shortly before the singer was due to board a flight to London. A staggering 9 out of 10 hospital trusts are still failing to meet hygiene standards, according to a new study. In their largest ever programme of spot checks, the Healthcare Commission found most hospitals weren't doing enough to tackle superbug infections like MRSA. Richard Gaisford is in Ashford in Middlesex this morning. Good morning, Richard.
Good morning, Aruj. The Healthcare Commission made a series of unannounced spot checks as part of the largest number of hygiene inspections on the NHS. I suppose we should celebrate first the 10% of hospitals that managed to make the grade. 5 out of 51 hospital trusts: Barking, Havering and Redbridge Trust, the Kingston, Leeds, St George's, St Helens and Knowsley Trusts. 3, though, needed to be slapped really with serious breach notices. They needed to take immediate action. Those hospitals were in Bromley, Ipswich and here at Ashford and St Peter's. The Healthcare Commission says that apart from those 3 cases though, most of the problems that they found didn't endanger human life. They weren't a serious risk to patients, but they do say that hospitals need to be on top of their game.
It's really important that all elements of the code are met all of the time, or we are not going to beat infection outbreaks in our hospitals, which will mean that we will not continue to bring our MRSA rates down.
Well, the Patients Association says it's dismayed that these hospitals, the large majority of them, haven't met the legal standard, Aruj.
Thanks, Richard. From today, single parents will not be allowed to claim income support if their youngest child is more than 12 years old. The government has introduced new rules forcing lone parents to look for work and attend job interviews or risk losing their benefit. Campaign groups say it will mean more people in dole queues and create a new generation of latchkey kids. 3 in 4 children with mental health problems aren't getting adequate treatment, according to a new report. A think tank found psychiatric problems in children are often mistaken for growing pains and teenage angst, and failure to give treatment at an early age could cost the economy millions of pounds. Nearly 1 in 4 pensioners are retiring in debt, according to a new study. It found that 1 in 8 people approaching retirement are planning to work in order to supplement their income. And nearly half of those surveyed say they're worried about paying for day-to-day living expenses as essential costs such as energy bills soar. Nearly 1/3 of those policing internet chat rooms and social networking sites have reported a suspected case of online child abuse, according to a new study. 28% of internet moderators employed to monitor sites like MySpace and Facebook, as well as chat rooms, say they've reported suspicious online activity to the authorities. And on the website this morning, why new car buyers place more emphasis on cost than colour. We reveal the biggest irritants to travellers. And with the festive season looming, we'd like to know how stressed Christmas makes you. Take our online survey. All that and more at gm.tv. And finally, 2 pampered pooches are getting a doggy des res at a cost of £1.4 million. Their owners forking out the cash to give the 2 Great Danes a state-of-the-art pad in the Cotswolds. It will include retina scan entry for the dogs and even a specially designed spa for the ultimate in canine chill-out retreats. Well, it's a dog's life. The time now is 7 minutes past 6. It's back to Andrew and Penny.
Looks of disdain here.
Oh, no. Well,
to start
really.
the week. Well, really. Would you like to go first or second?
No, I'll go. You go first.
I'd like to ask. Daily Telegraph this morning, story we will be returning to with Vince Cable a little bit later on, and Gloria De Pierre as well. Brown's £16 billion gamble, tax cuts planned to boost the economy, says in the Daily Telegraph. In fact, all of the papers going with that this morning on the front page. Darling unveils 45p tax on rich to fund recession package, and that should ignite the age-old debate as to what is rich and what's in the best long-term interests of the country. Sunday dress for the Chancellor there at the Treasury. High earners to pay 45% tax as borrowing soars, and as the Independent puts it, Labour's tax gamble.
And that's on the front page of the Daily Mail as well. Darling to hit high earners to pay for the £20 billion giveaway. The Daily Mirror and The Sun both go on that story there about Gordon Ramsay, and that is also on the front page of The Sun. On the front page of The Express, end this home grab scandal, calls to stop misery for hard-up families facing repossession. And now get ready for the big chill part 2, because they're saying that next weekend is going to be even colder perhaps.
And there boiler broke on Sunday morning.
Boilers always break on the first day when there's a cold snap. And snowy Britain on the skids. It's got pictures there from yesterday when it was snowy. And I don't know, I know that it's awful driving in it, I know that it's really horrible for so many people, but this is what I always feel like when I see bits of snow.
Tell them it's not fun.
I know.
OK, let's have a quick look at sport now. We'll take a look at Sunday's action. Here's the Daily Mail. Because Darren Lewis is here from the Daily Mirror, I thought I'd wind him up by showing him the Mail straight away. It says, Gallus U-turn. Wenger are poised to recall his rebel for Euro clash. It's the Champions League week. I believe they're playing Dynamo Kiev this week.
You've done it now. Well, it's weird because... Good morning. Well, William Gallas, Arsenal's best defender, basically criticised the entire squad last week. It would be like you criticising everyone else on GMTV and then them calling you back because you're the best presenter.
Yeah, that's right. Well, stay tuned. No, but I mean, Wenger has to maintain discipline, doesn't he? And by disciplining his captain, he's sending out a very clear message.
Absolutely. I mean, he's handled it brilliantly, as you rightly say. And William Gallas, who's 31 years old, basically said that the players within the squad don't respect him. A lot of people, however, feel the widely accepted convention within football is that when you have problems, you deal with them in-house.
Right.
And by coming out and making everything public, he's upset the dressing room, upset his teammates, upset his manager. It coincided last week with the launch of his autobiography.
Right.
So
and it coincides with the onset of winter when everyone gets grumpy because there's months of tough football ahead, people get injured and all the rest of it.
And that's why they need him. That's why they need him.
Anyway, they lost 3-0 to Manchester City over the weekend, and their North London rivals have got a revival going on. This is epic, actually. They were so bad to start the season. They've been so good since. And Aaron Lennon has been phenomenal.
He has indeed. Just to underline what you've just said, there's Roman Pavlyuchenko scoring his 3rd goal of the season so far. 3 goals in 10 matches Spurs scored in total under Juan Ramos, their Spanish manager, before Harry Redknapp took over. Since then, they've scored 21 goals in 11 matches.
And they're playing without fear.
Absolutely. Clive Allen was on here the other day, and he looked cock-a-hoop, to be fair. I saw the interview, and he was really confident, and that sort of symbolises confidence as pumping through the side at the moment. Harry Redknapp there. Now there are only 4 foreign managers in the Premier League because everyone's going back to English, and that's the reason why. Paul Ince hugged him there. Paul Ince has had less than 100 games in charge of Blackburn. Harry Redknapp's had over 1,000.
Yeah, OK, so he's got experience, he knows what he's doing. Spoke to Ricky Hatton's mum, Carol, on Friday, and she was in cracking form on GMTV. And her son, under Floyd Mayweather Sr., the trainer, very good weekend for him. Tell us about it. It's
ironic, isn't it? Because Floyd Mayweather Jr. Beat Ricky Hatton last year. Many people thought that was the end of him. Floyd Mayweather Sr. has taken over, changed his diet, changed his approach to fighting, changed his attitude. And that win on Saturday against... no, I've just forgotten his name.
Malignaggi.
Paulie Malignaggi. Basically, very, very impressive in winning on Saturday night, reclaiming that belt. Now they're saying that he's going to fight Oscar De La Hoya, the 2 best fighters of their generation. They reckon it's going to be so popular that they might even fill Wembley Stadium or the Millennium Stadium in Cardiff. I bet you'll be there, Penny.
To the Millennium Stadium. That would be great.
Just in case.
It's a shame our
every single day
cricketers in India can't quite respond. We haven't got any time, though, Daz. We'll have to talk some other time. OK. Nice to see you this morning. Thank you.
I had an interesting thing about rugby, but it takes too long. 13 minutes past 13 minutes past 6. You're watching the News Hour on GMTV. This morning's headlines. The Chancellor is expected to introduce a higher rate of income tax in his pre-budget report. The new 45% rate would apply to people earning more than £150,000 a year.
Michael Jackson's appearance at the High Court has been cancelled after he reached an out-of-court settlement with the Bahraini sheikh suing him for breach of contract.
From today, single parents will be refused income support if their youngest child is over 12. Under new rules, they'll have to look for work or risk losing their benefit. Now, as we've been hearing, a brand new tax rate for those earning the most money is expected to be announced by the Chancellor today as part of his package to try to give the economy a bit of a kickstart. Also predicted is a cut in VAT. But will that have any effect on our shopping habits? Elaine Wilcox reports.
Everywhere you look, there are sales. High street stores are already offering huge discounts.
So if the Chancellor does slash VAT the first time in 34 years, what difference will it make to your pocket? This CD cost me £9.99. If VAT is slashed to 15%, that's a saving of 24 pence. This children's car has already been heavily discounted. It's cost me £12. If VAT is cut, that's a saving of 30 pence.
This perfume kit cost me £45. If VAT is just 15%, that's a saving of £1.12.
We've definitely thought about what we're spending. I don't think it would encourage us really to spend any more.
I've got a lot of sisters and a lot of cousins, so we're going to just buy for the godchildren this year.
There's no recession in Manchester, obviously looking at everybody you see today.
When you think about it, it's what, £2.50 in every £100 that people spend.
Cuts in VAT would cost around £13 billion. With job insecurity and rising unemployment, the big question is, will tax cuts be enough to rescue Britain from recession?
Elaine Wilcox, so joined now by Liberal Democrat Treasury spokesman Vince Cable. Good morning. What do you think about this VAT cut?
Well, I agree with the principle of having a tax cut to try and save the economy from getting into a very vicious downward spiral into recession. It isn't the kind of tax cut I and my colleagues wanted. We thought it should be concentrated much more on low earners, lifting people out of tax at the bottom or cutting the basic rate. Value-added tax is a different way of going about it. It acts quickly, of course, but it goes to the big spenders who, by definition, have more to spend.
What about the tax then on higher earners, which will come after the next election?
Well, I think the principle of getting the very wealthy to pay for tax cuts for the general man in the street is right. The problem with the way they've done it is that it opens the way to a lot of tax avoidance. I mean, if you have 45% top tax rate and you still pay 18% on capital gains tax, then obviously people who are, very rich are going to hire accountants to turn their income into capital. So we've argued the same principle, that the very wealthy should pay for tax cuts for the low paid, but we believe in a much more broader-based approach to this.
And is it just me? I was having a conversation with my mum and dad yesterday, and we came to the same conclusion. Why is it that the bankers who've got us into this mess in the first place are not being actually made to pay? I mean, they've got millions. We're not talking about 150,000 a year. We're talking about millions of pounds a year, and yet nothing seems to have been done. I mean, if they were actually in charge of companies, they'd be declared bankrupt and be forced to sell everything off.
Well, they have got away with murder. I mean, 37 billion of taxpayers' money has been poured into the banks. There were agreements at the time that the banks would continue lending, that there would be restrictions on bonuses, but what seems to have happened, the government have largely walked away from their responsibilities. They haven't even put directors on the boards, and we think that should be changed because, I mean, you're absolutely right in your question that what the government's giving today in terms of its budget stimulus could be wiped out many times over if the banks simply decide they're going to cut back on their lending. And so the government have really got to insist that the banks maintain their flow of lending. They have,
and when you say
Bank of Scotland's agreed to, but the others haven't.
But when you say insist, I mean, what are the sanctions otherwise? Insist, do that or else?
Well, the government actually owns several of these banks now. It has the majority ownership. If it had its own people on the board, it would insist on their strategy being followed to be able to keep the economy going. The danger of just giving them the money and walking away is not just the unfairness that you rightly refer to. It's the fact that the banks are not been directed to pass on the money that we've been putting into maintaining a flow of lending to business. And if money doesn't go to business, firms close down, people become unemployed, they can't keep their housing mortgages going, and the economy gets into a spiral. So the government's got to exercise control, having used all our taxpayers' money to buy a big stake in these banks.
And is there any way that anybody else can sort of press the government to do this? I mean, apart from you obviously saying that they should.
Well, that's what's got to happen, and actually that's the most important thing to happen today. I mean, while the debate's going on about tax cuts, at the moment, the second biggest bank, Barclays, which has a balance sheet twice as big as the whole of government debt, I mean, that just tells you how big it is in the process of selling out to Arab investors who are asking for, I think it's 16% return. Now, if they're paying 16% return to Arab investors, you can imagine the impact of this on their British customers. And that's the issue that the government's got to get engaged in.
Vince Cable, thank you very much.
Still to come on the News app, benefit rules changed this morning to try to encourage single parents back to work. We'll tell you more about the details of that plan a little bit later on. Should lone parents be targeted? Let us know your thoughts. GM.TV for emails.
And after the break, Edwina Curry on why consumers are getting a rough deal.
Becky's big day has arrived.
You don't lie in open court, don't she go to jail?
Which leaves Steve with some big decisions.
She's expecting to be found guilty.
Going nowhere. Which woman will he choose?
He's not exactly known for his reliability.
It's decision time. A 1-hour special Coronation Street, Wednesday 7:30 ITV1.
When it comes to train travel, one thing you've got to do is take logic and throw it out the window. There are some journeys where buy one return ticket and it's £250, but buy 4 tickets for the same return journey and you'll spend just 40 quid. Join me tomorrow for the hidden tricks of the train trade.
This is a man's world.
Some of the world's greatest male artists performing live exclusively for you. ITV1 presents Here Come the Boys. Lighting up your Sunday night. Sunday at 8, ITV1.
Once upon a time, there were 3 little ladies who worked for GMTV. They were each assigned hazardous duties, but I took them away from all that, and now they work for me. My name is Richard, and I aim to get them to inform the nation about the digital switchover, letting all households know that by 2012, they need to be digitally prepared, either by cable, satellite, broadband, or through their existing aerial with a digital receiver. Log on to gm.tv to find out more.
6 Monday morning. Good morning to you. Now, GMTV Consumer Survey has revealed that more than 80% of you have received faulty goods from a retailer, and over half of you had trouble getting a replacement or refund for those items. So when Mum of 4 Michelle Jones contacted us about her dodgy sofa, we sent in our very own consumer queen. Her name, Edwina Curry.
So Michelle, tell me about the sofa of stress.
Well, we bought it back in April. We paid £1,000 cash for it. And the day after, we noticed there was a tear in the recliner and the recliner wasn't working.
And what about all of this?
This is basically stemmed over the last couple of weeks, so it's just getting worse and not better, and still nothing has been done at all about it.
So what did you do next?
We've written to them, we've phone called, we paid a visit, but still no response.
That's an absolute disgrace. About time I got involved. Hello, is that Furniture Direct? Could I possibly speak to Martin Ford, the manager, please?
I'm afraid he's away for a week. He's not here at the moment. Can I help?
Well, my name is Edwina Curry and I'm calling from GMTV, and this conversation is being recorded. We were contacted by one of your very dissatisfied customers. I was just wondering if the name Michelle Jones rings any bells.
It doesn't to me. It doesn't ring true to me at all, no. But as I said, it probably would be Martin that we would need to speak to, but he won't be back until next Monday.
Thank you very much indeed.
Oh, you're welcome.
Well, she was polite enough, but the manager's not there. We will be calling again.
We need to clarify that the company mentioned in that report is Furniture Direct in Cardiff, and no other company using that name. Now, if you've got any consumer queries, you can call the government-funded advice line Consumer Direct on 08454 0405 06. Calls cost a maximum of 4p a minute from a BT landline. Other networks may vary, and mobile networks might cost considerably more than that. But let's join Edwina at the helpline in Kent this morning. Edwina, good morning. We saw in that report you had trouble contacting the manager. Have you had any luck since?
Well, we took some legal advice, and last Thursday we contacted them again. They didn't get back to us until yesterday, less than 24 hours before the broadcast. But they have said they've been trying to contact Michelle, and they have ordered a new sofa, and it should be in the warehouse in a few weeks' time. And if not, they will offer her a full refund.
OK, it's a shame to have to fight so hard for this, and not everyone's got you around. What would you advise people who have a problem with something they've purchased to actually do about that situation?
Well, they can certainly contact Consumer Direct here. They take something like 130,000 inquiries every month. And I've been hearing from some of them the kind of cases they handle, everything from dodgy toasters to wonderful plumbers who actually don't do the job properly. And they are available to all of us.
OK, now, I was looking at some of these numbers, Edwina. Our GMTV survey that we did found that 60% have been refused an exchange of faulty goods. 68% have fought to get a refund. Are these surprisingly high numbers?
I think they're absolutely awful. I mean, if you think about it, Andrew, we're supposed to be a nation of shopkeepers, and we seem to have forgotten entirely all about consumer service. And you think that some of the inquiries that I've been pursuing, that they would have been falling over themselves to give a good response, but no, on holiday, not available, put the phone down on me. And if it's happening to me, it's happening even more to many of our inquirers, and it's a shame. It shouldn't be like that at all.
Understood. How can consumers best protect themselves?
Well, there are several things that people should do. The first is if you're buying something over £100, the best way actually is to do it on a credit card because they also give some protection. The second thing is you do have rights when it comes to faulty goods, but you have to go to the retailer, not the manufacturer. And the third thing is that whatever you do, whatever inquiry you make, you should keep a record of it. It's often best to do it in writing. And any records you keep, any correspondence, keep them, keep copies, don't throw anything away. And that way, if you do come to Consumer Direct or your local trading standards, you've got something to show what the complaint was all about and what they've done or not done about it.
Exactly. Thank you very much indeed for that, Edwina. And I know that you'll be back tomorrow with top tips on dealing with troublesome tradesmen when you're looking at a calamity kitchen, by all means. So thank you very much indeed. And you can head to the website for a guide to fighting for your consumer rights, for that's what you have to do. And we've got some sample letters of complaint that you can print off as well. So that's at gm.tv.
6:25, here's Andrea with the weather.
GMTV weather, sponsored by Nestlé whole grain cereals. Keep your family healthy every day.
Hello there. Now, as you can see, becoming milder for a time. That means over the next 24 to 36 hours or so. Let's take a look and see what's happening on the overnight radar picture. Now, you can see we've got some showers just over the north of Scotland. Fairly heavy amount of rain pushing into the south and west. That will ease its way off into the channel later, but it's rather more unsettled than it looks. We've got some very strong winds around this morning, gusts of up to 60 miles per hour. See there, just where it says gales to the south and west. We've also had a weather warning issued by the Met Office for icy stretches on untreated roads across parts of northeastern Scotland. So that's the Eastern Highlands, around Aberdeenshire, that sort of region. Rather more in the way of cloud across the south and east for this morning. For this afternoon, I think we will continue to see these showers down that eastern side. Some of them could be a little bit sleety in nature. That will continue overnight. Most places will see clear skies, and that means a very cold night for most of us, and it will remain breezy for just about everyone as well. I think what we will see as we move on into Tuesday is sort of more of the same, really. Some places seeing sunshine, the best of it in the west. Easy summary.
For your local 5-day weather update, visit our website, gm.tv.
Good morning, it's 6:27 on Monday, the 24th of November. You're watching the News Hour on GMTV.
Still to come this morning, will Alistair Darling's expected cut in VAT give the economy the kickstart that he wants?
Benefit rules will be changed today so that many single parents will have to show that they are looking for work in order to get benefit. We'll meet one single mum who does not want a job.
And can your children talk properly? We'll look at the shocking number who starts school unable to string a sentence together. First top story this morning. The Chancellor, Alistair Darling, is expected to introduce a higher rate of income tax for those who earn more than £150,000 when he delivers his pre-budget report later on today. It's thought to be one of the ways he'll pay for a planned cut in VAT from 17.5% to 15%. But it may not come into force until after the next election. We'll find out more from Gloria Di Piero, who's at Westminster. Good morning to you, Gloria. Big day.
It certainly is a big day. And Alistair Darling, when he stands up at 3:30 today, is going to be upfront and he's going to be detailed about how he's going to get this spiralling government borrowing bill down. There's going to be the usual stuff about efficiency savings in government spending. There will be that rise in income tax for the very wealthy, a new top rate of tax for those earning more than £150,000. Andrew, what I'm also picking up is that there could be a rise in national insurance deferred until after the next election, and that is paid by most people in work. So Labour face a prospect of going into that election saying, yes, some people will have to pay more tax if they vote Labour. You get your goodies in the here and now. You get the VAT tax cut. That would take about £10 off the average Christmas present bill of £384. There's going to be other goodies in there too. I believe there will be an increase in the state pension. There's going to be help for people struggling to pay their mortgages. There will be help for small businesses too. You're going to see a very clear dividing line in British politics today. Labour saying you have to borrow, get cash in people's pockets now so they can get through these difficult times. The Tories saying you can't borrow now. This Christmas giveaway is a tax bombshell which will detonate after the next election. So they're against borrowing to fund these tax cuts. Whichever party convinces the electorate that their policies are right is likely to be the next government. That's how big today is.
Yep, I heard you say that earlier. It's a big statement. But doesn't this break a manifesto pledge from the Labour Party taking money from the wealthy? And I think there's, 400,000 people making more than £150,000 in this country now.
It won't come in. It will be a manifesto commitment at the next time, Andrew. They will not break that manifesto commitment. People will know exactly what they're voting for come that next election. If you vote Labour, higher earners will pay more. And as I say, I believe that people paying national insurance will pay more too.
Right. Gloria, thank you very much.
It's 6:30. Here's Aruj.
Thanks, Penny. Good morning. Michael Jackson's appearance at the High Court in London has been cancelled after the singer apparently reached a last-minute out-of-court settlement with the Bahraini sheikh suing him for breach of contract. He was due to defend claims that he reneged on a recording deal worth £4.7 million. Carla Romano is in Los Angeles. Good morning, Carla.
Morning there. Well, anyone hoping to catch a glimpse of Michael Jackson today will be sorely disappointed because he's not coming. Now, he was due to appear at the High Court a bit later on today, and as he was about to board the flight to Heathrow, he got a call from his legal team telling him to postpone the trip because, in theory, some kind of out-of-court settlement had been agreed with the Sheikh. Now, this is the King of Bahrain's son, Sheikh Abdullah bin Al Khalifa. Now, he took Jackson in, his children, and the singer's entire entourage after Michael Jackson was cleared of child molestation charges. Now, the Sheikh was suing Michael Jackson for $4.7 million for reneging, he says, on a music contract, claiming that he'd lavished the singer with money, that he'd paid all his living accommodation costs, he's paid travel expenses, even paid utility bills on the Neverland Ranch, and all he wanted in return really was an album. Michael Jackson apparently didn't do that. 11 months after they decided this, Michael Jackson has not seen the Sheikh since, and basically the Sheikh now wants his $4.7 million because he's decided that he needs some kind of money back, and what he really wanted was an album, and right now he's got nothing. Michael Jackson has said in the past that he said that he thought that all the money that the Sheikh had given him was a gift, clearly not in the Sheikh's mind, obviously.
Carla, thank you. A staggering 9 out of 10 hospital trusts are still failing to meet hygiene standards, according to a new study. In their largest ever programme of spot checks, the Healthcare Commission found most hospitals weren't doing enough to tackle superbug infections like MRSA. Richard Gaisford is in Ashford in Middlesex. Good morning, Richard.
Good morning, Aruj. The Healthcare Commission made a series of unannounced spot checks at hospitals like this one behind me here. It was part of the largest ever programme of hygiene inspections the NHS had seen. I think the first thing to do is to celebrate the 10% of hospitals in this survey that actually came out well. They actually reached the standard. Those are the Barking, Havering and Redbridge Trust, the Kingston, Leeds, St George's, St Helens and Knowsley trusts. 3 trusts, though, needed urgent action, immediate improvements. They had serious breaches that needed to be corrected. Those hospitals were in Bromley, Ipswich and here at Ashford and St Peter's. And despite those 3 hospitals, the Healthcare Commission's keen to point out that actually the vast majority of the problems they found didn't pose a serious risk to patient health, although there were issues that needed to be dealt with. And they say that the hospitals really have to be on top of their game.
It's really important that all elements of the code are met all of the time, or we are not going to beat infection outbreaks in our hospitals, which will mean that we will not continue to bring our MRSA rates down.
Well, the Patients Association is saying today, Aruj, that they are dismayed that the majority of hospitals in this particular hygiene survey failed to meet the legal standards.
Richard, thank you. From today, single parents will not be allowed to claim income support if their youngest child is more than 12 years old. The government has introduced new rules forcing lone parents to look for work and attend job interviews or risk losing their benefits. Campaign groups say it'll mean more people in dole queues and create a new generation of latchkey kids. And on our website this morning, why new car buyers place more emphasis on cost than colour. We reveal the biggest irritants to travellers. And with the festive season looming, we'd like to know how stressed Christmas makes you. Take our online survey. All that and more at GM.TV. And finally, they made their mark in the movie Madagascar. Now Alex the Lion and friends are back on our cinema screens in Madagascar too. The creatures meet some long-lost relatives. Marcella Whittingdale met their superstar alter egos at last night's premiere.
They're back and they still love to move it, the animated stars of Madagascar. And last night, the A-list actors who play them joined a few other little critters on the jungle green carpet in Leicester Square.
If you're going to be an animal, it's a good one to be, isn't it?
Yeah, the lion. Yeah, it's sort of the king of the jungle. Though, you know, the lion in this movie, Alex, he thinks he's sort of the king. And then he gets to Africa and he realizes that being a lion in Africa is different than being a lion in New York.
I think they're jokes that adults will get, but they're still not inappropriate for kids, which is good.
This time, the adventure sees the pals attempt to get back to their zoo in New York. They repair a wrecked aircraft only to have it crash on the plains of Africa.
Back in 2005, the original Madagascar raked in more than $500 million at the box office. This time round, studio bosses will be hoping the seriously wild sequel will prove a Christmas cracker.
You got it.
The time is now 6:35. Now it's over to Andrew and Penny.
Thank you. There was a slight problem with the fact that those penguins had their eyeballs right at the bottom, which meant that they looked they looked like they were looking at her chest. Yeah.
Rude,
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah, they dropped right to the bottom. I was there yesterday, actually. Had a lovely nap for 15 minutes in it, and I woke up and with about 15 minutes to go, so perfect. I cannot go to the cinema and actually watch a whole film. It's an age thing.
Is that what it is?
It's a
Maybe
cartoon.
you should take some knitting. Now, in a few minutes, we'll be talking about benefits for lone parents. New rules mean that when the youngest child hits 12, the parent has to prove that they're looking for work in order to claim support.
Yeah, we'd like to know what you think about that. Text us 67890. Big debate this morning, of course. 25 pence for each text, plus your standard network charge, and terms can be found at gm.tv/terms.
Here's what's happening where you are.
Thank you, guys. Good morning. The main stories here in the northwest now. Ballot papers on congestion charging will start landing on doormats across Greater Manchester this morning. Nearly 2 million packs have been posted out to households in the 10 council areas eligible to vote. Motorists would be charged up to £5 for passing through 2 bands in and out of Manchester at peak times. The results will be known in 3 weeks' time. And on our website, we're running our own poll about whether you think the congestion charge is a good idea. We'd be interested to know what you think. Go to itvlocal.com/Granada. A hard-hitting campaign is being launched today aimed at reducing the incidence of rape and sexual assault in the northwest over Christmas. Adverts will be played on radio and television, warning people of the dangers. Between April and October, more than 500 rapes and attempted rapes were reported in Greater Manchester. Alcohol featured in most cases. This victim was attacked after it thought her drink was spiked.
I kept leaving my drink on the bar because that's where we were stood. I remember leaving my friend and going up the stairs because the toilets was upstairs, and I remember my arm being grabbed, and that was it. If you go into the toilet, even this might sound daft, but tell somebody. If you're going out for a cigarette, just tell them, don't go out by yourself.
Now, those die-hard Ricky Hatton fans are on their way back to the UK this morning, and those who didn't go to Las Vegas may still be nursing hangovers. The hitman overcame Paul Malignaggi to become world light welterweight champion. Afterwards, he said he owed much to his trainer, Floyd Mayweather Sr.
I think he showed that, you know, what in 7 weeks, what he's done for me. What will he do for me in, I don't know, 1 fight, 2 fight, we've no sooner we've got used to each other and fighting my nearest rival and someone as quick and as talented as Paul Malignaggi and someone as awkward as Malignaggi, and to put everything into practice like I did, I think I can't really complain too much. I think I'm pleasantly quite happy with my performance.
OK, let's have a look at the regional weather now. Here's Debbie.
GMTV weather is brought to you by new Olbus menthol lozenges. Breathe easy, whatever the weather.
Well, not quite woolly hats and moon boots, but it's still going to be quite unsettled, at least for an hour or two. We're going to see a continuation of the light rain and drizzle, which has affected many of us. Not quite as cold as yesterday, though. Temperatures up to 6 or 7 Celsius with those northeasterly winds.
Thanks, Debbie. I'm back in half an hour, but now we return to the GMTV sofa in London with Andrew and Penny. From me and the rest of the team here, have a very good day. Bye-bye.
6:39 is the time. We'll have a look at the newspapers. We'll start in Scotland. The Daily Record, Ramsay's United, Telly chef and wife shrug off affair claims. You'll see that picture a lot of places today. It's on the front page of the Sun as well. Daily Express this morning, end this home grab scandal, calls to stop misery for hard-up families facing repossession. And there's 2 children who don't hate the snow. It's a big chill this weekend starting course. In the Soup, Daily Mirror, same story that we were talking about earlier on, same picture in the Mail. And Darling to hit high earners, new top-rate tax to help pay for £20 billion giveaway, they say.
Now, I don't know about you, but it is awfully gloomy at the moment, so I'm just going to bring you a happy dog story. There we go. Look, that is a dog who gets his daily exercise riding the waves. Do we think he looks like he's enjoying it? I'm not sure. Yeah. His little toes are all spread there. Look, now, I don't know. What's he got his eye on there? Jellyfish at the front. Here? Anyway, all the other papers on that story there. The Guardian, Darling unveils 45p tax on rich to fund recession package. The Times, the same story. The Telegraph, calling it Brown's £16 billion gamble. And The Independent, the same thing there with a roulette table. So let's talk a bit more about this story. The VAT is expected to be slashed from 17.5% to 15%, and a new tax band is to be introduced for higher earners as the government tries to steer us out of a recession. The measure is part of a pre-budget report aimed at getting people spending again. We'll join now by Henk Potts. Good morning. They're talking about these new measures, but they've said already that the tax going up for high-rate earners will not happen until after 2010. What about the VAT?
Well, we think that will be cut from 17.5% back to 15%. The key strategy.
When though?
Well, it's almost straight away, one would suspect. The key strategy is try to get consumers spending before Christmas, so they'll look to implement this as soon as possible. What the government is hoping, of course, is that we can spend our way out of a recession. We know the UK economy is under a huge amount of pressure. We know that they're working very hard to try and alleviate these problems, and therefore I think what we're likely to see today is a pretty humble Chancellor standing up, downgrading the prospects in terms of the UK economy, talking about contraction as you look into 2009, but also coming out with a number of measures which he hopes will turn that picture around.
The problem is, it is a gamble, isn't it? I mean, we talk about, you say, which he hopes. Nobody really knows what's going to happen. This could be the worst thing ever.
It is a big gamble with the nation's finances, something we haven't seen for a long time. We're seeing a relaxation of the fiscal rules. We're seeing a huge increase in terms of government borrowing, but the hope is, of course, that in the short term, we'll all go out there, we'll spend, we'll see other tax cuts coming through which can get the economy going, help for small businesses, help for people in terms who are on lower pay, and that in turn will get the economy going, and therefore we'll look at a brighter picture, because without this we know that we're certainly in desperate times, and we could potentially be talking about a recession, which is bad enough, turning into depression, and that truly is the nightmare scenario.
What's the difference between recession and depression? Just the fact it's
the length of it and how deep and how dark that can turn out to be. We know there's some pretty gloomy forecasts in terms of the amount of people that are likely to lose their jobs, and of course if we see economic growth picture worsen from here, then more and more people are losing their jobs, people are spending less money, and the economy really starts to look in a very bad way.
And you look at some of the shops that we've all grown up with and which have been around there for decades. I mean, look at Woolies, 99 years old, and they were trying to sell it for £1, and that may not happen now.
Well, the problem with Woolworths is their business model has been blown away over the last few years. We know they've faced increased competition from the supermarkets. And, of course, we remember when we used to go to Woolworths, we used to buy CDs. Of course, the online retailers have taken much of that business away. It's really hard to see where Woolworths fits in terms of the modern retail environment. They've got 840 stores across the country. As you say, they may only get £1 for that, but there's an awful lot of debt with that business as well. So whoever takes them over will probably have to assume about £300 million worth of debt.
But it's really 30,000 and there's 30,000 jobs as well, you know. At this rate, all we're going to have is just massive, great supermarkets everywhere, aren't we?
Well, the supermarkets have been pretty good in terms of offering value, so I guess we can at least rely on them to be competitive in this environment.
Henk Potts, thank you very much.
Almost 7:15 Monday morning. You're watching the News Hour here on GMTV. Let's get up to date with the headlines. The Chancellor is expected to introduce a higher rate of income tax in his pre-budget report. The new 45% rate would apply to people earning over £150,000.
Michael Jackson's appearance at the High Court has been cancelled after he reached an out-of-court settlement with the Bahraini sheikh suing him for breach of contract.
And 9 out of 10 hospital trusts are failing to meet hygiene standards to combat superbug infections like MRSA, according to the Healthcare Commission. Now, from today, single parents whose youngest child is 12 or over will not be allowed to claim income support. Instead, they'll have to start looking for work and go to job interviews, or they risk losing their benefits. So is this a positive initiative to encourage lone parents into the workforce, or does it feel like a draconian move that will create a new generation of latchkey kids? Joining us now, single mum of 5, Lynn Fahy. Lynn Fahy. Her 14-year-old daughter, Ebony, is here. Good morning to you. And Pensions Minister Kitty Usher is with us as well this morning. Lynn, I turn to you first, and I ask for your reaction to this initiative.
If single parents want to work, great. Don't bully us into it.
Right.
We need a better support network. Wraparound schooling isn't established until 2010. If the high school children decide they don't want to stay, what are we going to do? We're not going to keep them in school. They're going to be wandering the streets. Antisocial behaviour will increase, not decrease.
So you're making the case for the value of parenting
Yes.
at home,
Yes.
being available.
We're great at what we do.
Right.
Let's do it.
Okay. And what are the practicalities of actually finding a job, for instance, that you could put into your life? Because apart from Ebony, who's 14, what other children do you
I've got
have?
a 7-year-old at home and a 15-year-old at home. They need me at home. The hours that you can find a job, particularly now in a recession, are going to be very limited. The unscrupulous employers are going to say you will do the hours we say. They're going to dictate to you to do long hours, late hours, different shifts.
And it would mean Ebony and
Potentially
the
they could be at school
coming home alone.
10 hours a day or be at home alone.
Okay, let's find out what the government is trying to achieve with these new rules that they're bringing in. Kitty.
Well, the reason that we're doing it is because we're serious about our child poverty targets. We've already lifted 600,000 children out of poverty since 1997, but unfortunately there's still 2 million children living below the official definition of relative poverty, and we think that's completely unacceptable. And it just simply happens that if you're the child of a single mum or dad, then you're 3 times less likely to be in that category if your parent is working part-time, and 5 times less likely if your parent's working full-time. So we're really serious about doing something about it. But there is something very important to be said, is we're not, we absolutely do not want to create the situation that Lynn has just described. In fact, quite the opposite. We want to give her and people like her the support that they need to open up the options to them. So if there isn't appropriate childcare available, then that's absolutely fine. All we're asking them to do is to engage with a programme which provides training and support, and a personalised, and it is personal, expert who will be able to work through the issues with them.
But in the meantime, the practicalities are that the kids are going to be coming home alone, and that childminders or others will be raising those children and the parent won't. Is that the right thing to encourage?
I don't agree with that. First of all, we've changed the regulations to say that people can restrict their hours to 16 hours per week, and if appropriate childcare is not available, then they will not have to take up the job.
So, sorry, 16 hours a week?
Correct.
Well, what are you going to earn for 16 hours a week? It's not going to be enough to pay for the practicalities, once again, of raising those children and getting to and from work and paying possibly for somebody to look after.
Well, obviously people get £175 a week in childcare tax credit, and these are children that already are in full-time education. So we're talking about potentially, if it's appropriate for that child, a little bit of wraparound care depending on the hours that people are working, but it doesn't have to be like that. The whole point is that it's an individual conversation between the single mum and dad and the lone parent advisor that the government pays for, who's a professionalised, experienced person with working through these issues. So
do you really think this is going to work? Let me get a view from the...
We think it'll lift 70,000 children out of poverty.
Admirable goal.
That is the reason why we are doing it.
Lynn.
It's a fabulous goal, What I actually think you're going to achieve is a high pregnancy rate amongst the younger single parents and possibly women of my age who do not want to leave the children, who will have another child to enable them to stay at home. That isn't going to work.
And you think that will happen?
It's a strong possibility, in my opinion.
What's your view on that?
As I said, we're restricting the hours that people have to be available from the normal full-time week to 16 hours a week. And if there isn't appropriate work that makes people better off, it's the crucial point. Of course, people won't be forced to take work if it doesn't mean that they bring in more money.
This is a big debate, and we're running out of time, and I haven't spoken to everybody. I'm not going to be able to. I do beg your pardon. But this goes down to the age of 10 next year, doesn't it? And then 7 in 2 years' time.
Correct, because that's when children are in full-time education, yes. And it's far, far lower in some other European countries, often as young as 2.
Yeah,
and ours
but
has been 16.
they don't have to work as long or for as little as we do.
It'll only be 16 hours a week if that's the appropriate thing for that family.
I wish we could talk more. I think we probably will do a little bit later on. Thanks for coming in. Ebby, sorry I didn't get to you this morning. Kitty, thank you very much indeed. Let us know what you think. 67890 on the text. Text costs 25 pence plus your standard network charge. Terms can be found at gm.tv/terms.
Still to come on the news hour, the children who turn up to start primary school unable to string a sentence together, and on GMTV today.
Talking to an X Factor star about Danny's tears on Saturday's show. Did you see this?
Not only does he produce and direct, he's an Emmy Award-winning comedian renowned for his hilarious films. Ben Stiller, who plays Alex the Lion in Madagascar 2, takes some time out to talk to GMTV. Ben Stiller, tomorrow.
Need to soothe tension and fatigue? A Homedics massager is like a shiatsu massage in your home. The secret is Homedics' patented shiatsu massage with heat for relief of tension and stress for back, shoulders or feet.
It makes you feel human again.
Homedics massages, available at leading retailers.
Make your Christmas dreams come true. Win up to £100,000 with the Christmas bonus scratch card from the National Lottery.
What if today you just worked at feeling better? Benylin can handle your cold and flu symptoms. The rest is up to you. Take a Benylin day.
We met in the winter and we fell in love.
Raise a glass this Christmas. Selected wines half price. That's the spirit. The Cooperative. Good with food.
For treating head lice, nothing is more effective than Hedrin. Now in an easy-to-use trigger spray too. Don't lose your head. Use your head. Use your Hedrin.
James Blunt. All the Lost Souls, the deluxe edition. Features 4 hit singles. 3 live cover versions. Plus the new single, Love, Love, Love. Bonus DVD includes the videos, documentary and interview. And 8 live performances, including You're Beautiful. Out now.
Have you been ripped off by faulty goods or by dodgy tradesmen? Then tell us at GMTV and let Edwina fight your corner.
What's happened to customer service in this country? I'm Edwina Curry, and I want to fight for your rights.
Continues tomorrow on GMTV.
Children in some parts of the country arrive at primary school unable to string a sentence together. Is it too much television which is to blame? Well, ITV1's Tonight programme has looked into the issue, and it features Ashley May O'Neill, who was diagnosed with delayed speech.
When we filmed Ashley May at home, the television was on all the time, while she played on her own, often getting frustrated. There was little interaction between the child and her mother, other than the business of feeding and changing her. She seems to have great difficulty expressing herself.
Joined now by Leanne and Rob O'Neill, their children Ashley May, who you saw there, and Jamie Lee, along with psychologist Emma Kenny. Good morning to you there. Now, you were watching that and you were saying, I don't understand that. I thought the whole point was the fact that Ashley May did have, had delayed speech. Is that right?
I wasn't understanding that she had delayed speech. I mean, she can talk. It was just that she didn't make sentences. And about the little interaction, I always play with my children. It's just on the film and I never quite got it. I was a busy mum, cleaning and doing my normal household chores. But yeah, obviously on the footage, it doesn't actually show me making that much interaction with my children.
I suppose what they're saying is the fact that you know, the more interaction you do, the better they are, and the more they do joined up sentences, I suppose is what we're saying. And you did notice a change as soon as as soon as you turned off the television and actually gave her more time.
More time, yeah. As soon as I've cut down on my cleaning, turned off the television, which is now only on 3 times a day. I did see a rapid change, which, to be honest, I was quite shocked. I didn't really think I'd actually see a change in a speech or in anything, but over the last 3 weeks, was it? 3 or 4 weeks?
Not too long.
We did see a change.
So with just a short space of time?
Oh, yeah. It was an immediate difference.
Right.
So she's stringing sentences together now instead of just saying the odd word.
And of course you got your other daughter there, but she didn't have this because I suppose there's more time when you've got a second child. It is that much more difficult, isn't it?
Yeah.
To get everything sorted, and that's the problem, isn't it, Emma? So this is why one yes, that is you. One should assume that this actually isn't difficult and also not unusual.
I mean, this is becoming more common. I think you're really brave allowing people to see that this is a global issue now.
Yeah.
Children spend more time watching television every week than they do in the classroom. It's one-way communication and it doesn't enable us to communicate effectively. The reality is that for children to talk to each other and to talk to us, we need to give them space and we need to give them time. Simply put, parents at home need to turn the television off because also noise delays speech in children. Children need very, very specific kind of times where they can hear themselves and others, and even very low tone in the background. And you know, in a busy household, it's classic, isn't it? We've got different noises going on in the same house, and actually children need to be able to define words. So that's another issue. Talk to your children like you're doing. Play with them. If you're cooking, get in the kitchen with them and role play. It's so important.
I suppose it's that thing about it's about words and repeating words back, is it? Is that the sort of thing? And about reading bedtime stories.
Yeah.
Right, so it's the sort of thing that actually you often get, like, for example, when they go off to nursery school and everything, they have those cards and everything and repeat them back. Is that?
Yeah, we have actually been given some cue cards, which unfortunately I forgot to bring them with me. Them like nursery rhymes, and you show up a card and they recognise the nursery rhyme and are able to sing it as well.
Well, it sounds
she can recognise.
Well, it's lovely to know that it happened in such a short time as well. You don't have to suddenly go, oh, this is going to take years.
No.
Thank you very much, all of you, for coming in this morning.
Thank you.
That's all from the news today. GMTV Today next. Ben and Fiona at the top of the hour.
Andrew's here next with the weather.
GMTV Weather, sponsored by Nestlé Whole Grain Cereals. Keep your family healthy every day.
Hello there. Becoming milder for a time. May not feel like it as you step out the door this morning. Still bitterly cold, and there are still some icy stretches just to be aware of. Now, let's take a look at the radar picture, and what you can see is we do have some showers just across the far north of Scotland. We've also seen some rain pushing in across much of Northern Ireland, the Republic of Ireland, and you can see here these bright echoes just showing where we do have some rain pushing into the south and west. That will actually just miss most of the UK and slide its way off southwards. It has still got a fair amount of wind wrapped up in that that system though, so we will see winds gusting up to 60 miles per hour across the southwest, so very unsettled there. The Met Office has issued a warning this morning for ice on untreated roads across northern and eastern parts of Scotland, so be aware of that. And the chilly temperatures will continue. I think for this morning most of us will have a bit of a shock to the system, even where it's cloudier across parts of England and Wales. Skies generally brightening through this afternoon, remaining windy across the south and the southwest, remaining cold across the north. We're going to continue to see some showers falling rather sleety rather more than rain. Temperatures not rising an awful lot, it has to be said. 6 or 7 in the south and the southeast, similar sort of values in Scotland, so it is a chilly day for pretty much all of us. What we will see overnight is the showers continuing mainly down the eastern side of Britain, drier conditions elsewhere, and under those clear skies temperatures are really going to drop back, so that means a fairly widespread ground frost overnight tonight and into tomorrow morning. And again, I think we will see temperatures generally struggling. It will remain quite breezy as well across the west and the southwest. This is where we're going to be seeing the brighter of the weather though. I think we will continue to see these showers feeding in across the eastern side of the UK. And again, some of those could well turn a little bit wintry. Again, rather more sleety than snow, but it is going to continue with that sort of wintry feel. Now, what you'll see as you go on to the middle of the week, again, we will see some brightness, but what you will notice that although we've got more in the way of cloud and unsettled weather pushing in from the west, in a way that's a good thing because temperatures will start to rise. What you'll notice through Wednesday is greyer skies out to the west, but temperatures managing to nudge their way up into double figures. So it will feel a little bit milder for those of you who are not great fans of the cold. Easy summary. Get a 5-day weather update for your postcode on our website, gm.tv.